excited to bring you Eric Joy, Chief Experience Officer over at GHT Group. You may recall that I had Eric on a number of months back, actually for show 88. So if you check out either our archive here on Facebook or our archive on our website, remember all of our shows are up on our website, and as well as full show transcriptions and the video and the audio feeds. And it was a pleasure to have Eric on at that time, and certainly I got wind of some of the strategies they're employing at GHT Group. They're in Atlanta, and I thought that there'd be a lot to share with all of you. Before I bring him in, I also just want to give a quick shout out to Joe Whitaker over at Thoughtful Integrations. He had me on his quarantine show this morning. Joe started a podcast or the live show a couple of weeks ago, and he's been bringing on guests from all over the industry. So I did share that on the One Firefly Facebook page. So definitely be sure to check that out. It was kind of fun because he reversed roles, and he was interviewing me, and his audience is primarily consumers. So it was really just talking about strategies on how to evaluate integration firms and how to know who the right integration firm for you is. And so definitely check that out if you're curious. So what is today? I didn't actually tell you what day it is. Today's Friday. It's April 10th. It is 12:30 p.m. And as you probably know, trying to bring you more content here through Automation Unplugged, get different voices and perspectives. So we've been doing, I want to say 3 shows a week for the last several weeks. And I think we're going to be doing that through the balance of April. And then after April, we'll reevaluate and probably bring it back to our steady roll of 1 show a week. But definitely take a look at all the different guests. I know we're all going through a lot of challenges, hardships, and my goal with these shows, particularly right now, is just letting you hear a lot of the way that your peers and others are handling the situation. And in most cases, there's really some neat nuggets of gold and ideas that you could perhaps implement yourself to improve your situation. And I did just see Chris Gamble. He says, evening, Ron. Chris is coming to us from the UK. Chris, appreciate you watching, sir. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guests. So stand by here. How are you, Mr. Eric?
Doing good, Ron. How are you?
I'm super duper, man. Thanks for agreeing to come back on. I didn't know I was going to have you on so soon, but thanks for doing this.
Well, I want to be kind of like a returning host of Saturday Night Live. Have that as your bragging rights. This is my X time hosting the show. I want to be the most brought back guests on Automation Unplugged. So
there you go. Well, we're well on our way now. This is officially number 2. We'll have to get number 3 scheduled, so that'll officially put you over the top there.
All right.
So actually, let me go ahead and take a look at Facebook just to make sure we're coming in. It does look like you're coming in. We had some audio problems this week, although all my warnings in my software have gone away. So I'm thinking maybe some of the bandwidth issues are gone. But if you're out there watching and listening, give us a like and give us a comment. Actually, let me know that you can hear us. That would be great. I was 6 minutes into my interview earlier this week with Keith Harrison when the audience was telling me, we can't hear you. So we had to pause, and we got that show rescheduled. There we go.
We stuck around 6 minutes and couldn't hear you.
I know. I'm impressed. Maybe they thought the audio was going to show up. That was funny. And then we got Jordan Littman. You know Jordan. Super excited for this conversation. Glad to see you back on, Eric. So Jordan is your account manager here at One Firefly.
We love working with Jordan. He's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, Jordan's a rock star. So Eric, talk to me. How are you guys? The elephant in the room is we got this COVID situation. You have a large team. You have a beautiful facility there in Atlanta where customers could ultimately come in and demo and experience home technology and music and video gear. And you guys are, I'm assuming you're on lockdown. What's the status there where you're at?
Well, the the status of the state of Georgia in general is a shelter-in-place state. For our business, we have been um, very fortunate that we haven't had any shutdowns of new construction projects. So our team is still busy, which I know that there are a lot of spots out there for our friends in Michigan and New York and a lot of places where they cannot even get out and continue doing pre-wires or anything like that. So we are working. We are staying extremely busy. The biggest thing that has changed is the showroom. You know, that beautiful showroom you just somewhat described has signs on the entrance saying, you know, temporarily shut down. You know, showroom is closed, but our phones are on. We're still here to help. So the phone lines are being redirected to all of the sales guys are all working remotely. You know, I've got a 20,000 square foot building I'm sitting in right now with, you know, there are two other people in the building. We got Chris in the warehouse and Kenny is here as well. And, you know, we can actually social distance better here than we can in our own homes. So
how are your sales team doing working from home? Were they set up to do that? Did they previously always come to the showroom there and work from office space there? And
well,
this is new for them?
not everybody worked here on a daily basis, but it was always a spot to come in, work on a proposal. You know, we don't just consider this a company. This is a family. It's a team. And, you know, when you are, you know, isolated for too much, you feel like you're out there on your own. So even if I didn't need to be here in the building, guys were continuously coming through, taking advantage of setting appointments with their clients to come in and really wow them with a great demo. You know, the ability to give a customer a presentation or a tour or a demo, we're having to get creative with that. So it's not happening very frequently, but because I'm consistently going to be here from, you know, bell to bell every day, all the guys know that if their client needs to get on a FaceTime with me to give them a virtual tour or a virtual demo or show them, you know, different leather swatches or, you know, finishes of speakers, I'm here to do that. But we are closing business. We're still closing very good business, you know, considering that we don't have the ability to bring the customers to the showroom at this point.
Now, there's been a bunch of industry webinars. I think I've never seen so many webinars in my whole life than what's happening out there in the world right now. I'm assuming you've been getting hit up to attend webinars.
I'm guessing there are at least a dozen of them going on right now.
Right now, that's yeah. Right. So what I was going to ask you was of all of those topics for webinars, one of the topics that I've seen many people covering, and so I'm just curious. It's the popular question of the moment right now, which is the CARES Act, the payroll protection program. Many people I'm aware of around the industry have been learning how to apply for that. They've been applying for that. You know, I guess you could start applying for that last Friday. Did you guys apply for that? And what's the status of your situation?
We did apply for that. Our status is still pending right now. You know, I've got a big network of friends that have businesses out there. And it seems that most everybody is trying to participate and trying to take advantage of this, but it's just unfortunately, you know, I don't think the banking industry had ample time to prepare for this. Yeah. Systems were getting overloaded. You know, we actually have a great client that is an executive at Wells Fargo Bank, which happens to be where we bank, and we were looking at this as, you know, he's going to handhold us all the way through this process. All right, it's midnight 01 and hit this button. And then that button wasn't ready at midnight 01. So we had to, you know, duck and weave and make some adjustments. But we're in the queue. I'm hoping that there are some people that are, you know, seeing the light at the end of that tunnel and just don't get too frustrated and stick with it, because, you'd be crazy to not want to take advantage of that opportunity. What are you hearing, Ron?
Yeah, I'm asking this question to everybody out there because, in some cases, I'm going to say like you guys, maybe that business is still flowing and it's a nice to have, but not a need to have. I'd say that's where we are at One Firefly. It's a nice to have and not a need to have. There are many businesses that absolutely need to have this. And I've been hearing of businesses that have applied, some that I would argue applied a little bit late. Like I would have advised to be Johnny on the spot and be ready last Friday or as soon as to Saturday or Monday. Some are still trying to figure out how to get applied as recent as now on Friday, April the 10th, which is kind of a little scary.
Yeah.
But I have yet to hear of an integrator that had been awarded and the funds. And, we actually had really good news here at One Firefly. I was as skeptical as everyone regarding this, sounding like this is almost too good to be true to get bailed out by the federal government. I mean, big business, Wall Street gets bailed out, small business, Main Street doesn't get bailed out. We received our documents yesterday, Thursday the 9th, to sign. And within an hour, the monies were deposited in our account.
That's awesome. I mean, within an hour, it'd be nice to any transaction, within an hour of completing that project, the customer's money is now in your bank.
Taylor, my VP of operations and finance, he's my right hand man. And he and I were just in utter shock and disbelief. One, that we received the document, the loan docs to sign, and then two, that funds. I remember I was in a client meeting and I got an email from my bank that a deposit had just been made. And I was like, excuse me. And I went over and looked at that. And then I checked. I was like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Let me put you on hold. Called I was like, Taylor, check the bank account. Did that really just happen? He's like, yeah, it's there. So I want that to be a signal of hope to everyone watching and listening that it does seem like it's real.
Well, I imagine that felt really good. One of the things here with our company is, we are in really good position. As I've told you before, we don't carry any vendor debt here. We don't load up on inventory that's not necessary. If it doesn't have a customer's name attached to it, we don't sit on product. Our entire fleet of vehicles is completely paid for. So we don't have a lot of risk out there. And we've just tried to maintain an attitude of, because this company did have a hard time back in 2008 and 9 during that crisis that our industry had. But we kept our head above water. We survived it. And they just had always maintained an attitude of, yes, we want to grow this business, but we're going to make sure that we always do it in a manageable way, that things don't spiral out of control, and always be prepared that the faucet could turn off immediately, right? So we want to make sure that we don't, have a lot of liabilities and a lot of debt, and we want this business to be healthy. We're committed that we will be standing on the back end of this thing, regardless of how bad it may get, with the hopes that it doesn't get bad at all.
How is the communication with your vendors right now? How are your vendors doing in terms of leaning on you for orders? I know that I've sat into a number of vendor councils and discussions regarding how they're managing this, and they're hurting as much as everyone in the marketplace. What are they doing right and what are they doing wrong?
Well, again, just as a reminder, I have about 8 years experience of being on the manufacturer and vendor side of this industry. And so I still, during this, I put myself in those shoes. What would I be doing if I were them right now? It's hard for them because they want to be helpful to the dealers, but don't really know what we can do to really benefit you. And that's why we have all of those webinars going on, which is fantastic for, ongoing education and learning factor. But what's most important to me right now is making sure that we are continuing to do daily business to the best that we can, collecting on all of those jobs that we're getting completed, And, it's a challenge, and I do challenge all of the manufacturers that when you are doing all of these webinars, don't just exclusively make it about your product, your brand, and product knowledge. What little bits of advice can you throw out there that are good business practices, how to run a more efficient and organized organization? Because we're going to have to be a lot more efficient, as unfortunately a lot of companies have had to let some team members go or furlough employees. We're still 100% strong here. But I let the manufacturers that were reaching out to me know that absolutely do not be pressuring me or the dealer community to load up on unnecessary inventory. That's the wrong thing to do. And I would have to say that I would give the industry an A if I were going to grade them right now, or at least they're not, hammering me to be placing.
Maybe they know better.
I think they do. I think they know I'm not going to do it. But I do appreciate the communication from the manufacturer partners. I do appreciate when they do hear a great idea from another dealer that we might be able to implement into our business. Because the way I see things right now is, even though we have competitors out there and in our market, sharing information is critical right now. Sharing accurate and honest information. We're very lucky that we've got a pipeline full of business. We're still at full staff. Nobody's been hit with any pay cuts or anything like that. But if things change here, I'm not going to put on a front and give you misinformation. I think being open and honest with each other is the best thing that we can do. And I've even told, the manufacturers, as they're reaching out to me, I'm letting them know that as you're making your calls through your dealers and checking in, ask those dealers if they're talking with other dealers. Because for me, that's one of the best or most comforting thing is when you're talking directly peer to peer. When you're talking dealer to manufacturer, it's a good relationship and good communication. But when you talk dealer to dealer, whether it's somebody that's within your own market, we're a member of the HTSA group, so lots of communication with dealers there. But I'm even communicating with dealers that were accounts that I called on when I worked at B&W, or just even a couple of guys here locally in my own market that normally might be considered competition. I want the health of the industry as a whole. We gotta lean on each other and get everybody through this. I don't want to see the demise of anybody.
No, amen. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into the types of discussions you're having with other dealers. And before we started going, before we turned the cameras on, you actually were telling me about an inventory sharing strategy that you had at least chatted or mentioned to a few integrators. Before I do that, though, I want to give credit to our listeners. I just want to say, Chris is telling me that he can hear us, which is good. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you listening and watching. And Kelly, she says audio is coming through, and she's coming to us from Colorado Springs. Kelly is doing well. And then we have Lewis. Lewis is coming. I know Lewis is coming to us from Mexico. He says audio and video are working well. Greetings, Eric and Ron. Good to see you, Lewis. I hope you and the family are well. And then we have Chris, and Chris is asking, there's a longer message here that I'm going to read. It's only populating a couple of lines. Chris says, is the CARES scheme applicable to businesses who continue to work? We don't have any equipment in the UK. There is a finance package available for covering 80% of staff salary rather than end their contract. We also receive funding to pay our business premise rates. So that sounds pretty similar to the CARE Act.
With the exception of his question is asking businesses who continue to work, which, this is certainly applicable to businesses that are continuing to work. It's certainly not known what's going on in other parts of the world, but it is nice to see that it looks like there are things going on.
Yeah, I saw a chat string. I'm in a Slack group for Azione. I'm in the Azione buying group and the ProSource buying group. And in that chat string was a question, and I think I know the answer, Eric. I don't know if you have an opinion as well, but neither of us are experts on the CARES Act. So go to your CPA or your lawyer for the real facts and figures. But one of the questions that had been posed in that channel was regarding the CARES Act money. Were you still supposed to pay for your employees even if you were locked down and not allowed to go to a job site? And my interpretation is yes. The way that was written is this going to cover 8 weeks of payroll. So the whole goal is that you don't lay off or furlough your employees. So I would assume even if you can't send them to a job site, it still means you would pay them. Is that your interpretation?
Yes, and I would say specifically where you mentioned that asking questions to your CPA or attorney, there are probably a lot of people out there in the industry right now that are realizing they don't have good legal counsel. If you don't have a lawyer that you go to regularly to ask advice and look at documents on all sorts of things, good opportunity to find yourself a good lawyer.
No, amen. That's great advice. So back to the communication with integrators. I think I had heard you express an idea, but I may have misheard it. So I'd ask you to clarify it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did or have been doing as I'm talking with people that I've already got a good relationship out there with, and even just some that are competitors within the marketplace that I don't communicate with on a regular basis, is just kind of throwing an offer out there. Hopefully things will not get really bad, but if they do, take a look at what you've got in your warehouse. If you have unnecessary inventory that you cannot use currently at this moment, I don't know if I will be able to help you out, but let's help each other out. If we can buy from one dealer's warehouse to help them stay healthy, let's do that. We need to see the dealers staying in business and staying healthy. And I think that it's probably the attitude that most manufacturers or all manufacturers need to keep in mind is what's the most important thing is making sure our dealers are healthy and stay in business.
I'm wondering, is there a forum? I know that seems like a genius way for integrators to help integrators. I don't know if the vendors would like this very much, but
they probably won't. But that's again why I said they have to understand the approach of I need this dealer to be in business in 90 days, in 6 months, and if that means that they had to unload some or buy help another dealer out, then that's just going to be the case.
I agree. We need our integrators to be in business. We all know the storm will pass. We none of us know exactly how hard or how long it'll last. It seems to be market by market as to how severely it's impacting.
Market to market, and then also just even though we are all in an industry where effectively we do the same things, we do them differently, and we might do them in different types of structures. We're lucky because we do a lot of custom built residential luxury new homes. But for a lot of the people out there, we're even if they had the ability to work, they do almost exclusively work in high-rise buildings. And all of those buildings have completely shut down and said, no more contractor work, going on with inside of our building. So we're lucky that we're very diversified in what we do and have the ability to get out and keep working.
So Eric, it sounds like you're still able to get out and do jobs. There are folks that I've been interviewing on the show and that I've been talking to, and they have a concern, and I'm wondering if you could maybe riff on how you would think about it or address it perhaps. And the concern they have is that, their schedules were very neatly plotted out on their calendars now through the summer. And in some markets, I'm just saying, this past Saturday, I did an interview with, Navot Sharesh from Spire.
Yep.
And in Michigan and where he's at, they're on total lockdown, not allowed to visit job sites.
Correct.
And so what was a perfectly plotted out set of all of his projects, by the way, he said are still alive for now.
Yeah.
They're just paused.
Correct. Yeah. That's there. One thing our industry, I think, has had a hard time being clear between using the word cancel and postponed. We've been hearing a lot. Somebody will say, yeah, Ron Callis is canceled. Well, did Ron cancel, or are we just postponing? It's what we're seeing is almost exclusively, or really is exclusively, postponing. Nobody has canceled a project. We're seeing a lot of things getting pushed back. But yeah, Navote, my friend Dan Paulson up at Paulson's outside of Detroit, both of those guys are fantastic members of our HTSA group. And yeah, I know that they don't have the ability to go out and continue pre-wiring on any construction project. They're all shut down. So they really have their hands tied. But yeah, no, people are scared for us to come out to their home. We are trying our best to make sure that people are comfortable with our guys coming with a, contact-free appointments or as contact-free as possible. We are also screening our clients before we come out. We want to know, is there anybody in the home that's currently sick? Has anybody been exposed firsthand to somebody that has tested positive? You didn't just travel back from New York, did you? And if the answer is yes, then they're going to the back of the line.
I just interviewed Keith Harrison yesterday from Total Home Technologies, and he said his requirement is he only sends one tech to the house, and he actually requires the customer not be home. So that way he's doing his best to keep his team safe and to keep the customer safe and vice versa.
You have to have a lot of good trust from your clients. I mean, I know that if I have a HVAC guy come into my house, I don't like leaving people unattended in my house. Yeah. But thankfully, most our clients, majority of the jobs that we're visiting right now are not first-time clients. They are people we've done business with in the past. So there is a level of trust. And they know our team and they feel good about us coming out. So, but it is a challenge. Our calendar, while normally we would have X number of weeks booked out and pretty solidly booked out, things are, the calendar can be, it's a living, breathing thing on its own and can change not just daily, but sometimes hourly. And we are seeing things on the bigger new construction projects to where I expect that they will, they won't go into a pause mode, but will take longer because the builders and the general contractors are doing a much better job of not stacking, 3, 4, 5 trades all on a job site all at the same time, which we had gotten used to working that way. The earlier days, it was, all right, you guys come in, then the next guys come in, and then the next guys, and then everything picked back up and was getting so rapid paced that, yeah, there'd be 4 or 5 trades on a job site altogether, and that has changed.
Well, the question is, how understanding will the GCs or the builders be when the light switches flip back on for those markets that have been shut down, when normally you could have spaced your visits over weeks or months, and you're going to have X number of jobs come back, but you only have Y number of technicians able to go out to those jobs?
Sure. No, I think industry wide that's going to be a problem because the pent up demand is already there. We know people are dying to do stuff, but we're just going to wait. Will our industry be able to handle the wave of people that are ready to? We're ready to move, and I know that the people that said, check back with us in a month. When everybody's going to want to get right there at the beginning of the queue, and we will be probably the busiest we've ever been.
Probably ever been.
And so critical to be able to, work efficiently and figure out how to do all these jobs.
Eric, you have children at home?
I have 2 adult children at home.
2 adult children at home.
Yeah, so they fully understand what's going on. This is
the question is relating to the demands inside of houses right now for networks, And I would just say all of the
Yeah.
technology or entertainment needs, but in particular the demands with like my son, he's 10.
Yeah.
And he's in the 5th grade. Oh, actually, you know what? He might be 11. Oh shoot. I don't know if he's 10 or 11. I got to think about that. I'm probably getting in trouble. He may be
You're,
watching downstairs.
you're definitely in trouble.
I'm definitely in trouble. He was born in, oh, I'm going to totally get in trouble. So I'm going to skip over that. So he is doing remote learning.
Yeah.
And the balance of his school year is going to be doing that from home. What do you think next school year looks like? What's
Well,
your prediction?
my prediction is that I think that our schools here in Georgia start late August. I know other parts of the country will wait until after the 1st of September, after Labor Day weekend, to get going. But while that seems kind of far away from right now, I think it very well likely could be at a point where we're not quite ready to send kids back into a school building to start next school year. The high school I went to had a student body of about 2,100 students. That's a lot of bodies, in a world where we're saying don't gather people in groups of more than 10 and everybody stay 6 feet away from each other. We won't be able to do that. So I expect that the next school year will start with at-home online education. And gosh, we might see a lot of people that say, I don't want my kids going back to schools anymore. There'll probably be a lot more homeschooling going on moving forward. But in the past few weeks where, I told you I've done a lot of Zoom meetings and GoToMeetings and FaceTime. And so, I'm seeing into your world right now behind you. I'm seeing into people's space and how they're trying to work from home. I'm seeing that.
What are you seeing? Is it good or bad?
Hey, you got a very, very organized office right there. But a lot of times I'm looking in and the dining room table has become dad's desk, mom's desk, junior's, trying to do his schoolwork here. You have multiple people in the family trying to use one communal space to work from home and do their education. Moms and dads that are both at home are taking turns being the teachers. Like, okay, it's your shift to make sure the kids are doing their schoolwork, and I'm going to go lock myself in the bedroom and do business phone calls. So, I'm fortunate that at my home, I do have a very nice home office if I needed to work from there. But a lot of homes that, that home office turned into something else, turns into the kids' playroom. It turns into whatever. I think people are going to be much more self-conscious about making sure I need a great place to work from home. I need a reliable place where kids can do their school. Things that I'm noticing when I'm on, in this situation right here, a lot of people's rooms are terribly lit, right? So if you're trying to communicate with a client or communicate with your teacher, it's important that I should be able to see your face. And some people, their rooms are so dark you can't even really.
There's a window right behind them, so you just see their silhouette.
Exactly. So we're going to be trying to think of what is the ultimate work from home space look like? What does the ultimate education at home space look like? And that can be everything from lighting to the acoustics in the room to best practices when doing Zooms and GoToMeetings. So I think there's going to be a huge opportunity for the at-home education and working moving forward. And just one of these new emerging categories. Like when I first started, I would have never thought that we would be selling motorized shades, but it's a huge part of our business. At-home work, at-home education is going to be one of our biggest categories moving forward.
It's so interesting, so we build websites and we do marketing and all these things for industry technology professional companies. And in our website product, we have some different types of pages, and one of the modules on those pages could be home office.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a time in the last 5 years where someone ordered that.
Yeah.
And I bet that's about to change.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're going to have to continue. I mean, this industry has always had to think about how we're going to move, shift, evolve. What are the new and emerging categories? And the companies that adapt to them The best and the quickest are the ones that will not just survive but thrive.
So, Eric, you have this really awesome perspective from the manufacturer side and from the dealer side, and you're an industry veteran. And you guys at GHT seem to have a handle on things. You're doing well so far. What a lot of people in our industry are not doing well.
Yeah.
They're scared. There's high levels of fear and anxiety, and they don't know maybe what's coming around the corner. What are some words of advice or considerations you could give them?
I think number one, the biggest advice is to communicate. I know a lot of, we're, as human beings, we're prideful. And when things are not good, we don't necessarily feel comfortable openly discussing and sharing. We don't want to let our guard down. We don't want to reveal our weaknesses and our flaws. But I think we got to suck it up, right? If things are not good, reach out to a peer, reach out to your manufacturers, reach out to the team at One Firefly. I tell everybody that I'm communicating with, whether you need to run an idea past me, if you just need me to tell you a funny story and hopefully put a smile on your face, or bounce ideas off of each other, reach out and ask me. Trying to navigate something like this as an individual on your own or just as an individual company, it's going to be a lot harder. Is it easier to paddle upstream with just you and one oar in a boat, or we got the whole team of us in there all paddling together? Right now our HTSA group is, talking with other groups. I'm talking with people that I consider my competition, where, normally I might fight you tooth and nail for that. But no, we need the industry to be strong. So don't be scared to reach out for help if you need it. I encourage you to proactively reach out to people and not just wait for them to call you. Be proactive in having, straight dialogue with your manufacturer partners, right? If things are getting tough, you need to let them know, here's the deal, what's going on with our finances. I might need you to take back some product. I might need you to help me move some product. We're all going to, the manufacturer community really is going to have to be extremely understanding, pending how long this thing goes. That, and I guess the other thing is just, having gone through what happened in 2008 and 9, the industry will survive. People want and need the things that we offer. And I think that's a good thing now, taking a look in comparison. Previously, our industry was full of just things that were luxury items. We only wanted them. We didn't need them. That used to be one of our things. Eric, why do I need one of these? Well, Ron, you don't need anything that I sell, but you want.
But you probably want it.
But now we are in a world where we are actually selling things that are needs. They are critical things, by managing people's security and surveillance systems, their thermostats, the lighting within their home. And of course, the biggest growing category in the industry, wireless network gear. We cannot not have a great wireless network in our home. So we are an essential business, and I'm glad that the federal government has deemed what we do as essential.
How's the wireless network at your home holding up?
At my home, I actually need to give myself an upgrade. I do. I mean, everybody in the house is streaming stuff and playing video games.
I know people. If you need me to give you a recommendation or referral, I know people that might be able to help you.
I know a couple of those folks myself. I should do that.
I did that when I moved into this house last fall. I moved here in September, and that was actually my number one priority. It seems like I maybe had a crystal ball or something, but for the first time in any home I lived, I did the work, and we put in a nice, robust network.
Mm-hmm.
And ruckus access points on every floor, Cat 6 wiring, nice, over here in this closet, Surgex, UPS protected gear. so that I could have, and my neighborhood has a fiber drop. So I've got, this is where I'm bragging a little bit,
Yeah.
900 meg down, 300 meg up internet. It seems so wonderful that I did that now that my son is, doing his Zoom meetings with his teachers. I'm up here Zooming all day.
Yeah.
My wife might be on the network, or in the evenings we'll do our Netflix, and it's
nice. Everybody's home and systems is being put to its test for sure. There was a article in the New York Times that was talking about our internet is not prepared for how the demands that's going to be put on it. If you saw, there were headlines coming out of, I believe it was France, where they were, requesting that Netflix and other streaming things stream at low definition resolution because they just couldn't handle what was going on. We really are in a world where, so many of the things that we want to use need to jump and live on your wireless network. And so we've tried to embrace the approach of letting people know if, in today's world, a great wireless network system is as critical, if not more important, than your plumbing and electrical.
Yeah. No, I think that we'll have a lot less skeptics out there after this event. I think we'll have a lot more believers buying that story, because it couldn't be more true. Yeah. Last thing I want to ask you, a random question. Have you picked up any new TV series or Netflix stream shows or anything you want to recommend that I watch or the audience start watching?
I am embarrassed to an extent that I did watch Tiger King in its entirety. I watched all 7 episodes of that in a matter of 2 days.
I've even heard they're now going to make another one, I guess, based on the demand.
I heard that. I don't think it's another series. I heard that it was going to be one more episode that was coming out. But
I haven't even watched it, but I know there's a woman named Carol Baskins.
She murdered her husband.
There you go. I haven't even watched the episode, but I've heard the hype.
No, but no, my favorite thing that's been on TV is, if you've not watched Ozark. Ozark is fantastic. They just released season 3. I plowed through it in a matter of no time. And it's fun because it is filmed here in Georgia. Actually, one of the guys on our sales team, Scott Adams, the home in the show where the Bird family lives is on the lake. That's his aunt and uncle's home.
No way.
Yeah. So they have rented that house out for the first 3 seasons of filming. They had signed the contract to go ahead and start production for a season 4 that should have started filming on April 1. But because of the COVID-19, they don't expect that they will start filming now until September. So anybody out there that is a fan of Ozark, I hope you enjoyed that awesome season 3. We won't be watching a season 4 for another year. So.
Oh no! So my wife and I are huge Ozark fans. Watched season 1 and 2. Have not yet watched season 3. And
buckle up, man! It's insane.
The amount of just fear and anxiety that show induces, just because you can, like, the guy's almost normal.
Yeah.
But then the situations he's in are just terrifying.
And so when you're watching that, kind of apply that. It's like, look how, relatively calm and cool and keeping his stuff together, this Marty Bird and his family are. If they can deal with all of that stuff, we can get through this.
That's I love that. If he can stay calm, cool, and collected with all the stuff going on in his world, then you and I can handle this quarantine.
That's right.
All right, Eric, it was a pleasure having you back on the show for episode 109. And, congratulations to you and Kenny and the team over there at GHT for holding the fort down and really keeping a positive attitude and outlook on life and business. So thank you for being you.
Good. Well, thank you. And thanks to all the people on your team that do such a great job on the back end, that, so much of what we're doing and what makes the business we're doing positive is because of lots of back end help from folks like you. So thank you.
Awesome. And if anyone wants to get in, was that a thumbs up for Mr. Jordan?
That's right.
How can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you? What's best?
if they want to reach out to me, if you've got, if the people have my phone number, feel free to give me a call. I'm not going to give out my phone number, but my email address is ejoy@ghtgroup.com. Feel free to shoot me an email. Go check out our website that we certainly loved the One Firefly team doing for us. Or hit us up, look for our social media on Instagram, Facebook, etc. Would love to hear from some folks.
Did I get that? I have it crawling across the screen here. Did I get it right?
That is correct.
All right. Eric, it was a pleasure, sir. Stay safe and wash your hands regularly and keep 6 feet distance. And that goes for all of you out there. We need to get this quarantine behind us and get back to work, damn it. So, Eric, it was a pleasure, sir.
Thanks, Ron.
All right. So, folks, there you have it. The one and only Eric Joy. Here I'm going to put up on the screen. Don't forget, Automation Unplugged is a podcast, but if you want it in your ear holes regularly, then you need to subscribe. So please do so. And on that note, I want to thank you all for watching, and going to be back at you next week with some more shows, great guests, and, stay safe and stay positive. We'll get through this. Thanks, everyone. Be well.